Hey friends, it's Nikayla from the podcast Side Hustle Pro. I'm always looking for ways to keep my kids entertained without screens, and the Yoto Mini has been a total lifesaver. My kids are obsessed. Yoto is a screen-free audio player where kids just pop in a card and listen. Hours of stories, music, podcasts, and more, and no screens or ads. With hundreds of options for ages 0 to 12, it's the perfect gift they'll go back to again and again. Check it out at yotoplay.com. YOTOPLAY.com.
Old school security kicks in after the break-in. Too late. Simply Safe rewinds the story, stopping crime before it starts. ActiveGuard Outdoor Protection uses AI-powered cameras to detect intruders, alert live monitoring agents, and can deter intruders before they reach your door. It's proactive protection, plus a 60-day money-back guarantee and no contracts. To get 50% off your new system, go to simplysafe.com/podcast. That's simplysafe.com/podcast. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scary. I'm your host Will, and each episode I narrate your real life paranormal experiences and bring them back to life. Before we get into this week's episode, I want to say special thanks to our new Patreon subscriber, Becky Broom Childs. If this is something you're interested in, you can find the link to the show's Patreon in this episode's show notes, or go to patreon.com/scaryaparanormalpodcast. There you will find ad-free episodes and also exclusive Patreon-only episodes. Also make sure to hit that follow button on whatever platform you listen to the podcast so you don't miss a future episode. But now, let's get into this week's encounter. My paranormal experience happened in Dublin in 2002. At that time I was living in the heart of Dublin, just off O'Connell Street, on a street called North Great George's Street. That particular street was lined with 4-storey red brick townhouses. My girlfriend and I at the time lived in the second floor of a converted townhouse in a 2-bedroom apartment. It was an ideal location for a couple in their early 30s. I was at the time working as a research assistant at a local university. It sounded fancy, but it wasn't. I was more drowning in paperwork and trying to meet some impossible deadlines than anything else. I was just about keeping my head above water, trying to stay afloat in this ocean of academic jargon. And on top of the work stress, my relationship was a bit of a mess. My girlfriend and I used to talk about everything, but then it turned into arguing over nothing and eventually not talking at all. And it gets very weird sharing a home with somebody who starts to feel like a stranger. Looking back, mentally, I was completely all over the place. When I'd walk home in the evenings or go out for a walk at night, I'd try to clear my head. I no longer live in Dublin and haven't been back there in many years, not for any particular reason, but when I think back of memories of that time, I really only remember these walks, the distant kind of sound of laughter from pubs and streetlights casting long shadows. It was both beautiful and kind of lonely. So there I was in a vibrant city, completely out of touch with what my life should have been. It was only a small period of time. It was inevitable that a breakup was about to occur, and sure enough, on one rainy Tuesday evening, my ex-girlfriend, she dropped the bomb, "I can't do this anymore." And suddenly I found myself with a 2-bedroom apartment all to myself. But I needed to be real. There was no way that I was going to be able to afford that place on my own, not with what the university was paying me at the time. With the second bedroom, we had been using it as a sort of storage room. It was a bit of a dump. All the stuff that we didn't know what to do with. Filled with boxes, books, and a couple of forgotten hobbies. And pretty much immediately a hunt for a housemate began. Room for rent, great location. That was my selling point. But the thought of having a stranger move in, it was weird. And that room needed a lot of work for it to even look like a bedroom again. I spent one weekend clearing it all out, shifting through the remnants of our past life together, old photos, souvenirs, stuff that really didn't have a place anymore. I remember sitting in that room thinking how life takes these unexpected turns. One day you're planning a future with someone, and the next you're posting ads for a housemate on the internet. Funny and sad at the same time. Finding a housemate, it wasn't mainly about splitting the rent. It was probably looking for somebody to fill a space that my girlfriend had left. I was really lonely, and had been before she left. And Dublin was a city, probably still is, full of people looking for a place to belong. And there I was, just another one of them, trying to piece together a new normal. Interviewing potential housemates was a bit of a trip, let me tell you. I met all sorts of people, good, bad, and the quirky, I suppose you'd call them. But the majority of them didn't really click, you know. That is until Catherine walked in the door. Catherine was a girl from Roscommon, and she has this really easygoing vibe that just kind of filled the room as soon as she entered it. She had long black hair that she tossed back when she laughed, and she had a great sense of humour. We immediately hit it off. To be honest, I was initially thinking of finding a male housemate. I guess I thought it would be simpler or something. But when Catherine came in, all those thoughts just vanished. It felt right offering her the room. She told me pretty early on that she was a lesbian, and appreciate her openness. Not that it mattered. She made life living together easy, you know. Catherine loved to have a good time, and she'd often be out during the week grabbing drinks with friends. But she was always respectful. Never brought the party home or caused any problems in the apartment. It was a pretty good balance. She had her social life, and I had, at the time, my quiet nights in. But we'd always catch up for a coffee in the mornings. Like I said, having her around was a bit of a breath of fresh air. The apartment was feeling alive again, and not just a place to return to after long hours at work. We'd chat about everything and nothing. So a few weeks after Catherine moved in, we got this notice slipped underneath the door. It was from the neighbours upstairs saying they were planning to renovate their apartment, and for us to expect some noises. It was a kind of polite, apologetic note. It was nice of them to actually mention it. We didn't really think much of it at first. I mean, it's a city apartment. You get used to all these sounds at night. But we weren't ready for what was to come. The noise didn't really bother us during the weekdays because we were mostly at work. But on Saturdays, it was a whole different story. On Saturdays, we found out that the owner of the apartment, he seemed to come in on that day and do a lot of the work himself. And for some reason, he chose really early on Saturday mornings to start his personal construction regime. So imagine 7 a.m. on a Saturday with a slight hangover. You're deep in the arms of sleep, dreaming sweet nothings, and then bam, drilling, hammering. It sounded like he was tearing down the whole place. I think the first time that he started working on Saturdays, he had let something fall and it caused this massive crash, and we thought that something had collapsed. And for a few weeks this became a bit of a rude awakening. Every Saturday without fail, you'd be woke up to this symphony of renovation that would start at 7 a.m. sharp. It was, I think, more tough on Catherine. She liked her late nights out, so early mornings were not her best friend. I tried talking to the guy upstairs to see if I could get him started a little bit later. He was nice enough and apologised for the sound, but said that he had to get the work done when he could. I understood, but it didn't make Saturday mornings any easier. Friday nights were a night where me and Catherine would get a bottle of wine, watch a film, and inevitably get very drunk. On one particular Friday night, Catherine decided to go out with some of her friends. So she was out enjoying the nightlife, and I decided to have a quiet evening to myself. I ended up going to bed pretty early that night. And Saturday came, and right on schedule, the noise started. I remember waking up pretty groggy, rubbing my eyes, and then noticed something unusual. Catherine was asleep in my bed. I kind of figured that she must have slipped in because the noise from the construction was probably worse in her room. It made sense, so I didn't really say anything. I just turned around and tried to go back to sleep. But by then I was wide awake. Then I felt the bed move and glanced over, watched her quietly get up out of the bed and leave the room. At the time I called out to her saying, "Is the noise getting to you?" She didn't reply. So I got up, went through my usual morning routine, showered, made some breakfast. Catherine's bedroom door was closed, trying to get some more sleep. And the construction noise was still going on, so I decided to get out of the house for the day. A bit of fresh air and a change of scenery seemed like a good idea. I spent most of the day wandering around the city, and before heading back, I sent Catherine a message. I thought she might be nursing a hangover after a night out, so I asked if she needed anything. And half jokingly I added in the message, "Was my bed not comfortable enough for you this morning?" Her reply came quickly. She said she didn't need anything, but she then dropped a bit of a bombshell that she hadn't been home at all. She said that she had stayed at a friend's house that night. She said that she had stayed at a friend's place after the night out. Of course, to me, that didn't make any sense at all. If it wasn't Catherine in my bed this morning, then who was? So I called her, needing to get a bit of clarity. I told her about the whole thing about finding her in my bed, or somebody that I thought was her, and there was a bit of a moment of silence on the phone. Then the conversation turned a little bit frantic. She was worried, asking if maybe somebody had gotten into the apartment, and I had left the apartment with a stranger in there. I ended up hurrying back to the apartment, thinking, our place is going to be robbed. Also feeling really weird that there was some stranger in my bed. But when I got home, I checked the locks, peered into rooms, half expecting to find the place ransacked, but everything was normal. And that was the first of a few strange things that would happen in the apartment. One night, a few weeks later, Catherine brought this girl home who she'd been dating for a while. It was the first time she had called over to the apartment, and the first time I had met her before. We ended up getting a bottle of wine, getting to know each other, and it was pretty relaxed, friendly. And after a while, she asked could she use the bathroom, and we told her where it was. So me and Catherine continued chatting, and then we heard the girl opening a door, followed by this, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the bathroom, sorry." And then heard her closing a door, and shortly after going into the bathroom and closing it. When she came back, she looked a bit flustered and said, "I didn't know your girlfriend was asleep in your room. I walked in by accident. I'm so embarrassed." And she was kind of laughing. We kind of sat there a bit puzzled, listening to her tell us about this person in the bedroom who was not there. When we told her this, she thought we were pulling a prank on her at first, until we went up to check the bedroom and see there's nobody there. And she quickly went from feeling embarrassed to very pale in a matter of seconds. She insisted that she saw somebody asleep in my bed. She said she had long dark hair like Catherine's, and it was pretty clear that she was genuinely freaked out, so much so that she decided that she wanted to leave, despite us telling her it was probably just a trick of the light, it's fine. I remember after she had left, we just sat there feeling really unsettled. We both knew what she described was impossible. There was nobody else in the apartment. But after what I had experienced a few weeks earlier, it kind of confirmed that what I saw that morning could possibly have been real. After that incident with that girl, things in the apartment took a bit of a turn. We were both now noticing weird things that were hard to brush off as coincidences or flukes. And one of the most unnerving things were these footsteps that we'd hear, mainly at night. A steady, unmistakable sound of somebody walking in the hallway. We'd call each other on our mobiles. I remember we'd call each other on our mobiles and ask, "Can you hear that noise in the hallway?" Just to confirm. And the other would be like, "Yes." And they weren't steps that were far away. They were felt very close, very real. Like somebody of a quite heavy stature was there, pacing back and forth. Another time we woke up in the middle of the night and found that both our bedroom lights had been turned on. You'd wake up to the sound of the light switch, and then sometimes the light switch would mysteriously flip down again. Looking back, we didn't feel afraid. It was more weird. Catherine used to say we've got a ghost with a love for midnight strolls and light shows. These strange happenings occurred for a while, and then something shifted. They just stopped. And this coincided oddly with the completion of the renovation in the apartment above us. It was like whatever had been stirring or unsettled in our place calmed down once the noise and disruption upstairs had come to an end. And the apartment just felt like it was back to normal again. No more noises, no more light shows. I lived there for another year. And eventually we both ended up moving on to different chapters in our lives. That's when I became a believer in the paranormal. And I firmly believe that older buildings definitely hold some stories within their walls. Thank you to Martin for sending in his paranormal experience. I actually know North Great George's Street pretty well, and I've been in a few house parties in there in my time, and I'm wondering how was one of them apartments where this light show ghost was. Interesting. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you're enjoying the show, please do consider writing a review or giving us 5 stars on the platform where you listen to the podcast. It really helps us grow and get seen. Other than that, you could support the show by telling a friend. You can also find me on Instagram, where I do need to post more content and will be trying my best, at scaryaparanormalpodcast. And join me next time for another episode of Scary.
Hey friends, it's Nikayla from the podcast Side Hustle Pro. I'm always looking for ways to keep my kids entertained without screens, and the Yoto Mini has been a total lifesaver. My kids are obsessed. Yoto is a screen-free audio player where kids just pop in a card and listen. Hours of stories, music, podcasts, and more, and no screens or ads. With hundreds of options for ages 0 to 12, it's the perfect gift they'll go back to again and again. Check it out at yotoplay.com. YOTOPLAY.com.
Fall is all about cozy comforts, and with Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your favorites and still hit your health goals. From breakfast bagels and meal-prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's FALL25 at HERO.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.
Do Crohn's disease symptoms keep coming back? Tremfya guselkumab may help. At 12 weeks, rapid symptom remission was achieved in most patients taking Tremfya, and some experienced visible improvement of their intestinal lining at 12 weeks and 1 year. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Explore what's possible and ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.